Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. The matter of the U.S.'s recent threat to the region, where Cuban medical program is a centerpiece, is taken seriously by St. Kitts. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Officials in St. Kitts and Nevis are reviewing the implications of a threat to Caribbean countries that benefit from medical personnel from Cuba that would result in U.S. visas being restricted or halted to residents and officials alike. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Denzil Douglas, speaking at the 6th March press conference with the Prime Minister, told news media representatives that the matter is being taken seriously, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but around the region as well. Glenn Bard of SKN Newsline reports.
Officials here on St. Kitts and Nevis are reviewing the implications of a threat to Caribbean countries that benefit from medical personnel from Cuba that would result in U.S. visas being restricted or halted to residents and officials alike. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Denzil Douglas, speaking at a 6 March press conference with the Prime Minister, told news media representatives that the matter is being taken seriously, not only here in the Federation, but around the region as well.
The threat that has been mentioned by the Secretary of State, that officials of countries that are doing business with Cuba in terms of the professionally trained Cubans who are supporting our health programs in the Caribbean region, that they would be affected by possibly controlling the issuance of visas to such persons. This is a matter that we have taken very, very seriously as a government and also as a region. In fact, just last week, Friday, we met as a group, all foreign ministers in the Caribbean community. We met virtually to look at the implications of this particular matter. And so we are in the process of examining the memorandum of understanding that we've had, the agreements that we've had with the Cuban government, who send medically trained personnel here, engineers, doctors, nurses, etc., to assist us in our health sector. On examination, we would want to make sure that the agreements do not in any way support what the U.S. is accusing, that these persons are really being dehumanized because they are working hard in our countries, according to the U.S. in perception, and they're not being adequately paid because the money is being paid to the Cuban government in order to sustain the status quo in Cuba.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs stated that St. Kitts and Nevis is not engaged in activities or agreements that will lead to the abuse of human rights for people in Cuba. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
President of the Barbados Cuban Friendship Association, David Denny, is calling on regional leaders to speak out against the United States' newly imposed restrictions targeting Cuban medical professionals. Mr. Denny says the association is supporting government's position that this is a serious move which has the potential to negatively impact critical healthcare services across the Caribbean. He says for many years, thousands from across the region have traveled to Cuba for free medical attention, especially in the area of eye treatment. Addressing a press conference, Mr. Denny said Barbados should also remember Cuba sending a medical brigade to the island to assist with the COVID-19 pandemic fight. He says amid international developments, countries in the region should continue to work with Cuba to establish medical scholarships for their nationals. More in this CBC News item.
Our region have benefited from the government of Cuba medical program in our region, to the extent that they have saved the lives of many of our poor Caribbean people in terms of being able to get medical treatment that most of them cannot pay for or can even think about traveling to Miami or the Western world to get medical treatment so that they can return to our region and help our people. So that this is also a very, very good program, and the Barbados Cuba Friendship Association supports Barbados and our Caribbean nations in relation to that joint educational program between our region and Cuba that will benefit poor working class people who would like to become medical doctors.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Collaboration needed for crime control in central Kingston in Jamaica. More in this CVM News item.
Jamaica recorded 47 murders in February, the lowest monthly figure in 25 years, according to Information Minister Dana Morris-Dixon. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is urging residents to be wardens of peace.
Security is not just the responsibility of the police force or the military. You've said it well, that they are policing their own peace. Every citizen of Parade Garden is a warden of the peace. And that is what we want to engender. That you are the ones who really make the peace. What the police does is to secure the area and take out of the space those persons who are vested in breaking the peace. So once ordinary citizens who want to live in peace are allowed, they will live in peace. It is the criminals and deviants and those who feel that they can profit from crime that we need to target and send them to meet a judge, preferably.
Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, has confirmed that tensions between Guyana and Venezuela have eased following the recent incursion by the Venezuelan military vessel into Guyanese waters. However, Gonsalves predicts that tensions will persist between the two nations, even after the International Court of Justice ICJ delivers its ruling on the border controversy. He emphasized the need for continued diplomatic efforts to prevent further escalation. Details in this HGP Nightly News report with Tiana Cole.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who was the interlocutor of the Argyle Declaration reached between Guyana and Venezuela on December 14, 2023, when they met in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, said he anticipates tensions remaining between Guyana and Venezuela even after the International Court of Justice ICJ's decision. Speaking on his weekly radio program on Wednesday in St. Vincent, Dr. Gonsalves told the listeners that whichever way the ICJ judgment goes, he still believes tension will persist.
Even after the ICJ delivers a judgment, whichever way they go, you're still going to have tensions. They may deliver a judgment sometime later this year. Or early next year, I don't know. I'm not too up to speed on the progress of the litigation, and I know the ICJ will take some time to write the judgment.
Dr. Gonzalez declared without a shadow of doubt that all ships are operating within Guyana's waters.
These are undoubtedly under Guyana's jurisdiction because that's for the purpose of the oil, taking the oil out from below the seabed. And immediately the Argyle Declaration had to be activated.
Gonzalez suggested that another meeting with stakeholders must be initiated to ensure there is no repetition of the incursion. This week, Guyana filed a protest with Venezuela over the incursion by the Venezuelan naval vessel into Guyana's waters and its aggression towards all ships operating within Guyana's waters. Guyana has also informed the international community of Venezuela's latest actions. Meanwhile, following President Nicolas Maduro's 2024 re-election and an attempt to deliver on a campaign promise, Guyana was forced to file a request with the International Court of Justice, seeking provisional measures to block Venezuela from moving ahead with its plan to host the election for a governor of Guyana's Essequibo region. Guyana informed the court that the planned Venezuelan elections are scheduled for May 25, 2025, and would inevitably be preceded by preparatory acts, including activities within Guyana's Essequibo region, which will not only impact the Guyanese population, but Guyana's sovereignty over its territory. Guyana further requested the court to convene hearings on its request as soon as possible to enable such provisional measures as the court might indicate to be issued before serious and irremediable prejudice to Guyana's rights occurs. Tiana reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
How will Trinidad and Tobago's current Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley be remembered? And what will be his legacy when he steps down as Prime Minister in a week's time? Peter Christopher looks back at his 2 terms in office and filed this CNC3 News report.
After you oversaw almost 10 years at the helm of Trinidad and Tobago, the question of his legacy has a complex answer, according to political analyst Dr. Winfred James, with varying successes and failures. But Dr. James believes Dr. Rowley's leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic would be among the top considerations.
Well, we can simply say that he and his Minister of Health took the bull by the horns and brought a lot of satisfaction, a lot of feeling of safety to the country by the way they handled the outbreak.
Dr. James also notes the Prime Minister oversaw the completion of several medical facilities across Trinidad and Tobago, including the Arima, Roxborough, Point Fortin and Sangre Grande hospitals, with the central block of the Port of Spain General Hospital pending. However, he believes the Prime Minister had failures, most notably in terms of education and the handling of Tobago's push for autonomy, as well as the impact of the closure of the Petrotrin refinery. Political analyst Shane Mohammed, however, believes the Prime Minister's legacy would be far more negative, as he says many of those hospitals were inherited projects, while the common man has felt the economic pinch.
And everything that we've heard about so far in the last 10 years has come down to economics, or something I call econopolitics, right? I've dubbed it econopolitics because it has to be politically and economically convenient to the government.
Another political scientist, Dr. Indira Rampasad, also felt the Prime Minister's legacy was largely negative given his inability to address growing concerns about crime as well as the economy.
What really has been achieved? The pockets of the citizens are not much better than it was in 2015, by far not better, because the increase doesn't compensate for the increases in cost of living and inflation. The health sector is still in a mess, and nothing has improved there, really.
However, PNM stalwart and former Arima Mayor Ashton Ford believes the Prime Minister's work with regard to addressing Tobago's seabridge issues, which included bringing on the APT James, the Galleons Passage and the Cabo Star, as well as the completion of several projects around the country, particularly the development of the infrastructure in Diego Martin, would be remembered by the public. Peter Christopher, CNT3 News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.